It's the same kind of jungle drums beating. And the problem is, once you go into a place like Iraq, as it turned out, or now Iran, then it's very hard to control the sequence of events that follows. I don't see this as being as clean a situation as, say, Venezuela, where you just take out Maduro and everyone goes home. I think this could be a real hornet's nest.
Yeah. So Young Turks is the longest running show in online history. So we were on the air during the Iraq War buildup, and we were one of only two national shows screaming, no, don't do it. Don't listen to people like John Bolton. The neocons have always been wrong, preposterously wrong. They said, oh, Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. It's so dangerous. We have to go in. They said it was connected to 9/11. It was all lies. Now here comes the same liars lying to us again on behalf of Israel and saying, oh, my God, Iran is so dangerous. Weapons of mass destruction. Yeah, that's the ticket. We'll use that same BS argument. And then the second argument coming from John Bolton and the Israelis is hilarious. We care so much about the Iranian people. Those Muslim lives mean so much to Israel and to the neocons. That's why we have to bomb them and kill them. Get out of here. Nonsense. So, look, for the folks on here who are Iranian, there are plenty of Persians who say, yeah, we hate this current government. I don't blame them for that. I have great sympathy for them in that regard. But you could say, hey, the Iranian people would like this. Trust me, bro. Maybe. The Israelis can say, we demand another war in the Middle East on our behalf. Iran is 4 times the size of Iraq, and that one cost you a couple of $1 trillion, and hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives. But we demand that America listen to our orders again, and that's exactly what they're doing. Or we can listen to the American people. How is this a difficult choice? You cited a poll where 70% of Americans said we don't want this. There's another poll out that says 85%. So if we were having a panel here that was representative of the American people, it would be at least 8 people saying, no, don't go in, it has nothing to do with us, and 2 people going, yeah, we need it for Iran, and 1 person for Iran, and 1 person going, we need it for Israel. So we don't need it at all. It's going to be an epic disaster if we get in. Unfortunately, the president's a bit of a child, so the Israelis lead him around by the nose. Attack their sites. No, get their uranium. No, get their ballistic missiles. No, make sure they don't support the proxy groups. Constantly pushing the American people into their stupid, endless wars where we waste so many lives and the entire American treasure. We did $8 trillion on the global war on Israel's enemies. Enough! Serve America. Going into this war would be absolute madness, and it would turn into disaster. On behalf of the American people, I say loudly, no.
If you're actually arguing that U.S. foreign policy moves based on humanitarian impulses, it's just too ridiculous. I mean, we back the Saudis in their genocide of the people of Yemen. We back Israel in their genocide of the people of Gaza. We back all types of just brutal regimes. The United Arab Emirates and their role in Sudan right now, that doesn't stop us from backing them. So the idea that this has anything to do with like the treatment of the Iranian people, that's all just ridiculous. It's not about that. And Pierce, all those people, all those same people who you correctly stood up and fought against, who wanted to lie us into Iraq, they've all in their own words admitted that Iran has always been the goal, that eventually we get regime change there too.
We're on the precipice of another set of military strikes in the region. Is that a good thing? No, it's not a good thing. It'd be a lot better if Iran would simply become a normal state, engage in trade, work with its neighbors, stop trying to take over the region, stop threatening Israel. But Iran doesn't seem, under its present regime, to want to do that. So that's where we're headed. Thank you, Pierce.
Please, can I just
let me wait 1 second. I will come to everybody, but I want to get Dave Smith's response to that. Dave Smith.
Okay, well, I mean, if the general who is on the record, not just on that Amy Goodman interview, but here on this show, Pierce, who said the plans went back a decade before that, and that they were resurrected in a study paid for by the Israelis, if he's walking away from that or saying, well, yeah, that happened, but there were 4 different administrations in there, so there's no they there. Well, as Cenk was pointing out there, Benjamin Netanyahu's been here pretty much the entire time. The Israel lobby's been here pretty much the entire time. And you'd certainly have to admit, sir, it's an awfully big coincidence that you saw that there was a plan to overthrow 7 countries And that since that time, now, obviously, none of us are arguing it didn't happen the way you said it was going to. It's supposed to happen in 5 years. And obviously, the war in Iraq ended up being a quagmire that was unforeseen by most of the military establishment at the time. But Israel and or the United States of America have attacked all of those countries, maybe minus Sudan, which kind of collapsed without those attacks. That would seem to be a huge coincidence there. And it seems much more likely that those entrenched interests that were pushing for that continued to push for that over all of these years, especially when the fact is that we can look at who's been advocating for all of these policies over the years, and it's been Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israel Firsters and the Israel Lobby and all of them. I think it's kind of crazy to expect us to somehow get them out of any responsibility for this. And in terms of, Pierce, just last summer, I was on this show. We were having a bunch of arguments. Everybody back then said it was about the 60% enriched uranium, that I was crazy for claiming that this was about a regime change operation. And here we are a few months later. President Trump has boasted that he obliterated their nuclear program, that it's no issue. And yet we still need to go back to war with Iran once again. But the bottom line is just that we are $38 trillion in debt. Well, one second, General, and I won't interrupt you at all. We're close to $40 trillion in debt. We have major problems in our own country, including a drug overdose epidemic, a homelessness epidemic. We have we have tens of millions of people who are in our country illegally, and yet we're flirting with what is obviously, definitionally, a war of choice, a war of aggression. Iran, we're not responding to an attack from Iran, and to move all these goalposts. Oh, they support proxies in the region. They have intercontinental ballistic missiles. Yeah, in other words, they're a government. Yes, in other words, they haven't just completely, as Witkoff said the other day, that Trump was curious why they haven't capitulated. In other words, they haven't completely capitulated to us and said they're going to make themselves entirely defenseless against the Israelis who attack them throughout the years with impunity. This is ridiculous. We have no need to fight this war. We're flirting with another catastrophe for no reason.
Take it all, Dave, was the U.S. ambassador to Israel.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad you played that clip. I'm about to do a whole show on breaking down that interview. I think one of the things that's aside from the fact that it's just like how insane and what a religious fundamentalist you have to be to believe that God gave Iraq to Netanyahu or something like that. But what's really wild about this, as I'm sure the general can back up, that since at least the 1970s, the official U.S. position has been that we support 67 borders and that we ultimately want a Palestinian state. The U.S. is officially, not that we're going to do anything about any of that, but we're officially against the settlement expansions in the West Bank. And here you have the U.S. ambassador to Israel. I mean, it sure seems like he's the Israeli ambassador, if you ask me, but his title is he's the U.S. ambassador to Israel, just saying because of his religious beliefs that he would be absolutely fine with Israel not just taking the West Bank and Gaza and the Golan Heights as they have since 1967, but evidently, Pierce, taking huge swaths of Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, and for anybody who does not believe that God promised Iraq to Netanyahu, that is just insanity. And you do notice on this panel how a lot of people beat up on the mullahs for being religious extremists and like, I got no beef with you on that. It certainly is true that they are. But as Cenk was pointing out, the level of extreme religious fanaticism that drives policy, both U.S. policy toward Israel and Israeli policy at the top of their government there, really is something to behold. We're not as secular and as one might believe.
آنچه در مورد ما میگویند